Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Joanna Nixon.
I am Dr. Vilma Pacheco Barcia, and this is Open Doors Podcast, two women scientists driven by curiosity, evidence, and compassion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open Doors, the podcast where we explore professional well-being in oncology and beyond, one conversation at a time. On this podcast, we open doors to great, better leadership, healthier teams, and practical tools to your professional life. Today's guest truly exemplifies this, Professor Eleanor Shaw, a leading voice in enterprise and entrepreneurship and a passionate advocate for women in leadership and academia. Eleanor is exceptional in many, many ways, not only through her outstanding work, but as a person with this incredible uplifting energy she has and she carries.
Thank you for coming. Professor Eleanor Shaw is an inclusive entrepreneurial leader with more than 25 years of experience of enhancing business growth and is passionate about using her knowledge, expertise, and networks to unlock entrepreneurial potential across Scotland's economy. Eleanor was awarded an OBE in 2022 in recognition of her services to entrepreneurship and education, and is included in both Stanford's list of the world's top 2% of scientists and of long-term researchers with impact. Implementing her research and teaching interests, Eleanor is Scottish Chair of the Chartered Association of Business Schools and sits on the boards of the Gender Index and Pathways Forward. She is also a trustee of the Beats on Cancer charity and Enable. Eleanor, it's an honor to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting to be here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation this afternoon. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying such nice things about me. I wasn't sure who we were talking about, so.
Well, Eleanor, you've got a very, very impressive CV, and you've held multiple leadership roles in academia and enterprise. Can you tell us what originally drew you into that space? How did this all started?
It's really interesting. I've never had until more recently, I've never had a strategic plan for my life. I really haven't, and even to think that I might have one now is odd to me. I grew up in Ayrshire. My first job was delivering cream and bacon on my bicycle around small towns. So how I got from that to what I do now, in some ways sounds a little bit odd, but I'm really interested in entrepreneurship. And as when I was younger, most of the jobs that I had involved working with smaller companies led by amazing entrepreneurs. So I think that curiosity in, individuals that have the purpose, the drive, the vision to set something up and do it for themselves, I think always really interested me. So I think that might be where it came from, but certainly no great plan at all.
Wow, and what are the biggest challenges women face today in academic leadership, and how do you see those evolving?
Yes, women do continue to face challenges in academic leadership. There's no doubt about that. However, I'm less certain that the challenges that women face in academic leadership is any different from the challenges that women face in leadership, full stop. Okay, full stop. And I think it's even broader than that. I think the role that women have within our economy, within our society, is different. Different doesn't mean worse. I think it can often mean much better, to be honest with you, because I think women are fantastic multitaskers. They're great at, you cannot be a mother, a partner, a wife, a daughter, a friend, and also a leader without being able to do a lot of multitasking, a lot of prioritizing. So I actually think women make great leaders because they've had years of experience. I think that the challenge has been that the talents and the contributions that women can make at different stages in their career have not always been fully recognised. I mean, I think we're starting to recognise that now, but I think it's been a challenge. I also think women, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like how you are physically. So I'm quite a short, small woman with blonde hair, and I probably don't look or dress or speak like what you would think an academic leader would, but that doesn't actually detract from who I am in that role and what I do. But some people may have unconscious bias and perceptions about one another just because of how you look.
Thank you. It's very liberating, actually, naming some of the elephants you mentioned. Different, and different does not mean superior or inferior.
No,
It
no, no, no.
means
It just,
equal
yeah,
and
yes,
equally required, as diversity is only bringing advantages to any team and organization. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for also touching on the perceptions and unconscious biases about how people look. How
yeah,
should an
yeah,
academic look like? How should they carry themselves? Or how should a medic look like? How should they carry themselves? And
yeah, yeah,
how should
yeah.
they behave? I'm just drawing some parallels, and surely people can resonate with me. I'm going to stay with you, although you might feel embarrassed talking about yourself and your achievements, but we're not at all. We're very proud of you. And you were recently awarded an OBE. So massive congratulations for that, Eleanor.
Thank you.
What did that moment mean to you professionally and personally?
Well, it was really interesting because I'd been away with work and I came home about 7 o'clock on a Friday. And I was just going through the mail, and my husband said, "Oh, there's a really interesting envelope there." And it was, a lovely, thick, white, it felt nice. And I thought, oh gosh, I wonder. It kind of felt like a wedding invitation, that sort of envelope. And I thought, oh, I wonder what's happening here. So honestly, when I opened it up and this very formal letter was inviting me to asking me would I like to accept this honor, I just could not believe it. I mean, I genuinely was just really, as you can hear now in my voice, speechless. I almost held it up to the light to see if somebody had written this is a joke, a watermark saying you've been framed or something. So I was really surprised. I was really, really surprised and humbled, and I couldn't believe that colleagues and people that I've worked with had decided that they wanted to nominate me for it and had written such amazing things about me. So it was really just it was exciting and just startling, actually. Yeah, startling.
Wow. And also, entrepreneurship is your expertise. It's amazing, Eleanor. There's a lot to talk about it, actually. How do you define it? Is there ever a point where it's too late to start?
Yeah, so I do get asked this a lot, and so I think um, entrep- entrepreneurship is about your attitude, it's about your mindset, it's about your passion. So I think all of us have this, okay, inside of us, but something happens, and I think it's as we grow up, the way in which we educate our children almost tries its best to take that creativity and innovation away because we want them to study hard, we want them to pass exams. But actually, to be an entrepreneur, you sometimes have to fail and you have to try again. So I think for me, it's a mindset. And because it's a mindset, some people manifest that mindset in setting up and growing their own business. And other people manifest that innovative creative mindset in different ways. So as medics, you guys will be creative and innovative in how you approach and you think about your work. I think I'm probably innovative and creative in how I approach my work as a researcher. So there's some head teachers I know who are amazingly creative and innovative. So for me, we need that entrepreneurial mindset to set up and grow businesses, but we also need the entrepreneurial mindset to do things like innovate the NHS to make it, more patient centred. All the work that's going on around primary care, all of that. We need entrepreneurial leaders in the health service to do that. My own sector, higher education, is going through a really tough time right now, and we need really entrepreneurial academic leaders to be able to respond to all of the challenge. Doing things the same way because we've always done them that way is no longer going to work. So for me, we can identify entrepreneurship in every single walk of life.
Thanks, Eleanor. And I know frequently we ask about age, and is it too late to do that? It's never
Yeah.
too late to change
No.
your mindset 100%. But as you said, as we grow older and we become fortunately more established in areas, somewhat not everybody is ready to take more risks because of the fear of failure, as you said. So it's about reframing that, and I suppose failing quickly and changing strategy,
Yeah.
because we definitely need to think outside the box.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can explore this part of yourself at any stage in your life, and I wonder, in healthcare, we know that even if you start eating more healthy, going to the gym, walking steps, drinking water when you're 60 or 70, that's going to have a longer term impact on your life. Okay, it might have been better if you'd done it earlier, but it doesn't matter. You're starting now. And I think that entrepreneurial mindset's the same. Just because, you know, you might not have allowed yourself to think about that in the past doesn't mean that you can't behave in those ways in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I'll take you now into leadership, and I know that you're an advocate, a strong advocate for inclusive leadership. Can you share a moment in your career when you had to challenge the status quo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 I mean, I've had to do that at various points in my career. But most recently, and I'm not going to mention names because that wouldn't be appropriate, but I was holding a very, very senior position, and I was leading a a part of a university that was a very, very large part of the university, and I realised very quickly that change was needed because there was a lack of diversity, there was a lack of equality, there was a lack of equity, and I had to challenge that, and I had to change the senior team. I had to bring in. I had to make changes throughout the whole of the organisation to make it more inclusive, more equitable, more equal, and more diverse, because I knew that it would make better decisions if it did that. But it was difficult because many people don't like change.
Wow. And something that really worries us also is women in leadership. How do we move from representation to real influence for women
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
leadership roles? Are we there now, Eleanor,
yeah,
in
um,
2025?
Because
yeah. Vilma,
just to say something, Eleanor. No, I'm jumping in, but sometimes it sounds as a tick box exercise. How many women have we got? How many men? And is it equal? And that's not the right way of approaching it. I suppose it's a very simplistic way of approaching it. It's a starting
I,
point, but not.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, across my career, I have found myself, for example, being the only woman sitting on an interview panel. And I have very quickly thought, oh, I see. I've been invited onto this panel because I'm a female, and you needed a female, and that doesn't actually make anybody feel good. At the end of the day, it's really important that we make, let's say, recruitment decisions based upon talent, based upon human capital. That's vital. But what we need to recognise is that when we're building a team, we need diverse human capital. And I'm sorry, but a team of white middle-aged men isn't actually going to give you the diversity of skills, experiences, points of view that your organisation needs to be able to take the very best decisions. And I think we're not. I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're making progress. So to my mind, some people say, oh, well, it's just a woman's problem. Do you know what? It's not a woman's problem. It's an economic problem. It's a societal problem. And we're letting our economy and we're letting our society down if we don't recruit based on talent. Okay, so talent is about human capital. Sometimes people get recruited because of their social capital, who they know, and that's the wrong reason to recruit someone.
I agree, Eleanor. And you mentioned talent, and I'll take it a step forward and talk about opportunities on the basis of talent. And focusing on women, what would you say are the most common myths or limiting beliefs that women have and that holds them back from um, cultivating their talent
Yeah,
and
yeah,
put
yeah.
the hand up to say, I want to be in business. I belong in the room. That seat is mine on the table, actually. And I'm an academic leader. So what is holding us back?
So so this is not original at all. I think one of the things that holds many women back from progressing their career is they look at a job description and and they think, okay, there's 10 essential criteria that I need to tick. I think I can maybe do 3 or 4. No, so straight away that's ridiculous because they can do many more than 3 or 4. But they're just they're comparing themselves. So women have really high standards. Okay, so their standards are so high that even sometimes when they evaluate themselves against standards, they're really tough on themselves. Contrast that with some of the men that we know who look at a job description and will think, oh, I can do all 10 of those things, So I think women have such high standards that they can often be their biggest critics. Biggest critics. I also think there's something that can be very lonely, and this puts women off, I think, about being one of a very small number of senior women in an organization. And then it depends on the culture of the organization, but I think it can be tough if there's, it's not even women actually, if there's a lack of diversity in the team that you're joining. That's not inclusive. Okay, that doesn't make you feel included. It doesn't make you feel as if you're part of the team. Now, we need to progress this. So we do need to have people coming on to the team who don't look or sound like everyone else on the team, but it can't just be 1 or 2. We need to start, shaking things up and getting as much diversity as we can into those teams.
Absolutely, and Eleanor, what you're explaining is very important, and it's the big elephant in the room. We don't talk about this as much as we should, and by making change, we evolve and we improve our teams and our network. You have been deeply involved in shaping enterprise education. How can we make it more accessible and less intimidated? I mean, it's as you say, we see a job offer, we see an option of leading something, we're scared. It's normal. I mean, it's totally validated, but how can we make it
So
more
I think we need,
accessible?
I think we need to do a number of, so there's no one thing, there's no silver bullet, so you probably need a system wide approach to to this. What might be some of the things that you would do? I think one is education, and how we educate our young people, and how we socialize them. I don't know of any child who just stood up and walked one day. Okay, that doesn't happen. Babies become toddlers, and they crawl, and they stand up, they fall down, and eventually they learn to walk. But every time they stand up and fall down, we don't say, "Oh, that's dreadful that you've failed." We instead, we encourage them, and we say, "Come on, get back up, try again." That type, and so I think that type of nurturing that we tend to do, we really need to try to nurture young people way more across the whole of their early life, throughout primary school, secondary school, and education. And we need to not talk about failure. We need to not reprimand. We need to not be negative. It's so all the parenting theories about positive reinforcement. I think we really need to apply that throughout the whole of the education system. So I think that's one thing. Related to that, there is an awful lot of focus for young people on, as I mentioned, on passing exams. And I think that's not actually about educating yourself. That's about teaching to pass so teaching to pass an exam is really different than creating opportunities to explore, whatever, to explore physics or chemistry or maths or English or music or French. So I think it's a different way of thinking about education. So I think that's another thing. And then maybe a final thing is around more visibility of different types of entrepreneurs. So women who are running amazing businesses, but also teachers, medics who are innovators, creatives, and entrepreneurs. So recognizing that the entrepreneurship actually can span everything, and at its essence, entrepreneurship is about identifying a problem and being really creative in how you address that problem. So because we teach young people to pass exams, we're not giving them the opportunity to explore a problem and think to them. We give them the solution. So we say, this is how you have to pass this exam, instead of saying, let's explore it. This is what we're going to do. Let's have a conversation about how you might want to approach this. So those would be three other things as well, but those would be three things I think that we could do.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. And I think it screams mentorship in a way. We talk a lot about mentorship in our podcast. It screams mentorship at every stage in life, broadly speaking, about mentorship. And as we spoke about the younger generations, what advice would you give to a junior academic or a person starting, finding themselves in a leadership role, irrespective of gender, I should say?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
So I would, again, a number of different things. I would tell them to take opportunities. So when you're presented with opportunities, take the opportunities, even if they weren't the opportunities that you were expecting. Take them and explore them, because opportunity will lead to opportunity. So I think that's one thing. Another thing that I would recommend is go out and speak to as many people in your organization as you possibly can. Get to know other people, build your social capital, and also be kind to people. Just be kind to other people. Try to help other people. Do things for other people, because that approach just brings back so much to everybody benefits from that sort of approach. So I would always be saying, how, looking at situations and thinking, how can I help? What can I contribute in this situation that's going to make it better? And that could be a tiny little thing, like offering to go and make some a cup of tea because you can see that they're working really hard, or it could be something much more substantial, and asking your boss, what can I do to help? Is there something that I can do that's going to contribute. So I think being really helpful and kind, um, uh, really important, and being clear about your values, and actually not doing things that make you uncomfortable because they don't sit with your values. I think that's super important. And often at that early stage in your career, you there can be a tendency to feel kind of pressurized into doing certain things, and you might think, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay.
Yes, that's kind of our philosophy here, like open doors for
Yeah,
yourself and others. That's our mantra. Absolutely
100%.
agree.
Yeah, yeah,
And something that we
absolutely.
also discuss a lot, Eleanor, is professional well-being, being well with yourself. As you were saying before, we have like multitasking, like we do the mom, the daughter, the friend, the doctor. We
Yeah,
multitask in our lives, and it's very important to find a balance. So we wanted to ask you, Eleanor, about this also. How do you find work life balance?
yeah. So I think at times in my life I've probably, like everybody else, not had a good work life balance because I've been working so much, and you ladies know exactly what that's like. But I also think I reckon as a, as someone who has experience now, I absolutely recognize the benefits of really taking care of yourself. And again, this is unoriginal, but when you get on the plane and they're giving you the instructions and they say, put your mask on first, because only if your mask is on can you help other people. So for me, sleep is really important, because if I don't have enough sleep, how am I going to be good at my job? How am I not going to be, I don't want to be crabbit or narky with other people. Sleep's important. Also, connecting with your friends and your family, and we all know how important those social connections for longer life and living longer are. That sense that you're part of something bigger than just yourself, I suppose, really important. um and me personally, I exercise a lot, I eat really healthily, I have a dog, I make sure I walk my minimum 10,000 steps a day. Uh, so I'm probably more mindful about making sure I'm taking care of myself now. When I was younger and my kids were younger and I was working, it was just a whirlwind, and I probably didn't have the time to even think about doing any of that stuff. And I'm sure you guys can identify with that.
It
It is
resonates, absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
difficult. It is difficult when you're super busy and you're doing all these different things. It's really hard.
Yeah, no, truly, and I think that there have been times in our lives, for the three of us, yeah, and for anybody else who has a family and went through babies and all of that.
Yeah,
Sleep deprivation is something that you even think about it, and you wonder how on earth can a human carry on without sleep. How can we be programmed to sustain even? But yes, I fully agree that looking after yourself is crucial to be able to be the best at all the roles you have in life. It's and
I,
it's not just for
yeah,
us in medicine. It applies to everybody,
100%.
every
Yeah,
human.
yeah.
um Looking
Eleanor,
back,
yeah.
we've done some dives in the past. What is a piece of advice you were given, or a piece of advice you wish you had been
Ooh.
given in the past?
So I'm piece of advice that I've been given. I mean, one piece of advice that I was given, but I didn't always take it. I didn't always take it because it's really difficult. Is actually, you should spend much less time worrying about what other people think about you. Okay, because actually, most of the time people aren't thinking anything about anybody else. They're just thinking about how they can get through the day. But sometimes people might behave in a certain way, I think as a young woman, these sorts of things I'd be thinking, why are they behaving like that? Have I done something to upset them? And I now realize if a colleague's behaving in a certain way, it will 99% of the time, it will actually have nothing to do with me. There's probably something else going. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they didn't get enough sleep. Maybe they're a bit grumpy. But stop worrying so much, full stop, and stop worrying so much about what other people think of you. I think that's advice probably my mother gave me, probably your mothers gave you that advice as well. But it can be difficult. I think it can be difficult for younger people so that I would say that would be a piece of advice that I would continue to offer other people. But I also realise that just because someone gives you a piece of advice, you've sometimes got to live it. You've got your own lived experience before you're able to, you then go, I understand what they were talking about now. Where, so it is difficult.
Okay. Eleanor, thank you for sharing your insights, your knowledge, and your experience today. Through your work in academia, enterprise, and policy, and especially through your role as a mentor and champion for women, you have opened countless doors for others.
Thank you, Eleanor. Your leadership reminds us that influence is not about visibility alone, but it's about lifting others as we rise. You inspire not only the next generation of entrepreneurs and academics, but all of us navigating how to lead with courage, clarity, and purpose. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's been fantastic spending some time with you both, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You go, Vilma.
Yes. And for our listeners, keep opening doors for yourselves and others.
Okay. I'm Dr. Joanna Nixon.
I am Dr. Vilma Pacheco Barcia from Open Doors Podcast.
And remember, you belong in the room.
You belong in the room.